Well, welcome everyone. It is Wednesday if you are watching this live, and if you are watching the replay, welcome to you as well. I want to say a special hello to everyone that is on with me live. And I always like to say that if you're watching live, I always like to know where it is that you're watching from. So feel free to drop a comment into the section and let me know where you're watching from. Also, I took a little bit of a break last week and it was a welcome break. So I'm back and excited to start sharing more information with you. If you're new and this is the first time with me, my name is Rhonda M. Jordan. And today I'm going to be talking about a topic that for some of you, you might think it's way too early to be talking about, but it really isn't. And so I always encourage people, if this is your first time on with me, then grab a notepad and pen or however it is that you take notes, because I'm going to be dropping a lot of valuable information that you're going to be able to use to really prepare and have a very successful and profitable fourth quarter. So, however you take notes, make sure you do that. Feel free to just let me know if you have been with me before. Say hello. I would love to say hello to you as well. All right, so I am not going to hold the information back from you. What I want to do is to begin the process of getting your mind right for fourth quarter. Now, I know if you're watching this live, or even if you're watching the replay a few days later, you're probably looking at your calendar and saying, Rhonda, it is August 13th. Can you give us a break? We're still trying to enjoy the summer. If in fact you're in, the Northern Hemisphere, we're still trying to, get the kids ready for school if they haven't yet started back. I live in the South, so the kids are already back in school. But yes, I have to start shaking you a little bit and at least putting the information out there so you can begin the process of prepping and preparing to have a very successful fourth quarter. Now, here's the thing about the type of business that we have. If you're in the online marketing space, fourth quarter is big for us. I'm not saying first quarter isn't, because that can be very big as well. But what we're about to do is to start the process of preparing for a successful fourth quarter. And I'll tell you, the reason why this particular training is going to be so important for you and what's going to give you a leg up is most people don't do this until way later. And when I mean way later, a lot of people don't start really preparing for the Super Bowl session, if you will, until like November. And quite frankly, at that point, I'm not saying you can't do it, because you absolutely can create some incredible products in that time frame, but why put yourself through that stress by waiting until so late in the game? Now, what do I mean by the Super Bowl of fourth quarter? Well, that's going to be that weekend of Black Friday through Cyber Monday. So, this is what we're really preparing for. And I'm not saying that you won't be selling products any other time during the fourth quarter, because you will if you follow the steps that I lay out here. But that's going to be a really big selling season that we have to get prepared for. All right, so let's go ahead. Again, if on with me, say hello, drop it in so I can say hello back to you. Let me know where it is that you're watching from, if you're comfortable doing that. Otherwise, what we are going to do is get right into the information. So give me just 1 second here. What did I just do to my screen? There we go. I think I just did something to it, but let me see if I can fix this here. Otherwise, we're getting right into the information and I won't worry about it. All right, we're just going to leave it as is. I'm going to go full screen here. All right, so let's talk about what it is that we're going to be doing. So this month, what I really want you to start doing, this is not a real heavy season, if you will, of preparing. It's just starting to get your mind right. And what I mean by getting your mind right during this time is for the month of August, is we're just going to really start, jotting down ideas as they come to us, thinking about things that we might want to create. And we're also going to be focusing on audience building. We're going to be focusing on engagement, which I'm going to be talking about this a little bit later on. And we're also going to kind of put our detective hat on and start thinking about some of the comments that we've received, if you have an audience, from them where they're asking questions and so forth. Now, all you're doing at this point is just taking notes and jotting things down. We're not going to be really doing the work at this point. We're just getting ready for it. All right. So the next thing that I want to do is really have you start thinking about the things that you're hearing on a regular basis. So, what is it? What questions, what comments are you getting more than once? What types of things are you hearing over and over again? And again, if you don't have an audience, it's not a big deal. Think about the people that are in a similar niche as you who have a much bigger audience. And remember, we talked the last time I did a training about how to go through the comments of those larger creators and find things that they have not yet answered, how to go through Reddit, how to go through Answer the Public, and so forth. You're looking for that, and all you're doing is jotting things down. So this is not really the time when we're going to be doing a lot of work. We're going to put that hat on kind of in September, early September, after things have kind of died down, the kids are back in school and so forth. If you still have kids that you're getting ready to go back to school. But what I want you to really start to do at this point is just play, like I said, play detective and get that stuff down. Now, once you figure out something that is being asked on a regular basis, questions that are coming up. Now, once we're into September, what I want you to start doing is looking at those items and figuring out what product could you create around those that would answer those questions? And I don't want you to just write down something just because it's being asked, over and over again. It needs to be something you're interested in. It needs to be something that you yourself are knowledgeable enough about in order to be able to create a product, because this is what we're going to be doing. For fourth quarter, we're going to be focusing on one of two ways of creating an income stream. One is creating a product, and the second one is going to be affiliate marketing, which I'll talk about later. Now, I really want you, if you're new and this is going to be your first fourth quarter that you're preparing for, I want you to pick one or the other. Either you're going to create a product or you're just going to focus on affiliate marketing because you don't have time to create a product or you don't feel that you're ready to do that. For right now, we're strictly going to be talking about creating a product, and we'll talk a little later about the affiliate marketing aspect of it. All right, so as I mentioned, you're going to be thinking about what you're knowledgeable about, what you're interested in, and then you're going to decide on a product that you want to create. Now, here's the thing that we're going to be doing. You have to do two things at the same time. You cannot just focus solely on creating the product once you decide on that. And I'm going to walk you through the steps to do that. You also have to continue audience building. You also have to create content that's going to draw in your ideal customer. So I know it can sound like it's a lot, and quite frankly, it is work. But remember, this is the type of work that we're going to be doing to set ourselves up for a profitable fourth quarter. Now, remember, you can always reuse and repurpose content that you've created previously. So don't let that aspect of content creation feel like it's overwhelming, because it really doesn't have to be. All that content you created and shared, let's say in April and May and June, you're going to be resharing that during this upcoming session. You're just going to get it scheduled out because most of your time is going to be focused on creating this product that you're going to be selling. Now, I keep saying product, and there's a reason for that. When I say product, I'm really talking a product suite, and I'll explain to you what that is. I don't want you to try to create 20 different products. I don't want you to try to create 15 different. We're not doing that because that's way too much work. I want you to focus on a single product suite. Now, let me explain to you what a product suite is. It's going to be an opening product, which is typically going to be a lower cost product. And the reason why I want you to focus on a high quality but lower product, if you will, lower value product, is because I want this product that you create to be kind of a no brainer. In other words, it's so doggone valuable and it is priced incredibly great. I mean, to the point where, as Alex Hormozy would say, people would feel stupid saying hello, saying, not to buy it. I'm not going to buy that. Now, I don't like to use the word stupid, but that's kind of the way he explains it. I want people to feel like if I don't buy this, I'm missing out on some incredible information. And as I mentioned, this is going to be your front end product. It's going to be the lower cost one. Now, what that's designed to do is to get people to say yes. And there's a really important reason for that. You have to get people to say yes because once you get them to say yes one time, it's easier to get them to say yes a second time and a third time. What do I mean by saying yes? They're saying, yes, here's my credit card. I'm buying this. I want this. I can see that it's going to be valuable to me. All right. So that's the first aspect of your product suite. It's going to be that lower cost, highly valuable product. All right. And we'll talk more about it in just a second. The second thing that you're going to be doing as part of your product suite is you're going to create an order bump. Now, let me explain to you what an order bump is if you're not familiar with it. If you think about a typical order form for a digital product, it's going to, of course, have the product. It's going to have all of the features of that product, and it's going to tell you the price and so forth, and people are able to add it to the cart. But before they check out, there's typically going to be a reference to another product, which is an order bump. An order bump simply is an additional product that's going to be added on at the time of the original purchase. So let's say your initial product is going to be a $17 whatever it is, okay? Or a $27. Again, you're going to be deciding the price at a later time. Now, that order bump should be the next logical aspect. What's the next logical thing? What is a companion product? What is something they could use? So let me give you an example of how that might work. Let's say, for example, you create a 30-day meal plan for someone that wants to lose weight in a healthy manner, okay? And then your order bump could in fact be something like a planner which lists out all of the meals that are to be eaten during that particular time. Maybe it has some encouraging words incorporated into it. So that could be your order bump. That order bump could be, let's say, a $27 item. So now, if you think about it, the person has said yes to the $17 meal plan. And now they're saying, well, it would be really helpful to have that planner. So maybe I'll just go ahead and add that on. It's really not that much money because if you think about it, if we're going 17 and then you're going to $27, we're still under $50. For most people, if you are under $50, it's almost like a definite yes, particularly if this is your ideal customer and you are offering them something that they absolutely want. Okay, so that's what an order bump is. Now, the next part of this product suite, so the first part was that, incredible product that they can't say no to. The second thing is the order bump. What's the third thing? It's an upsell. An upsell is going to be a completely different product that is presented to them after they make that initial purchase. So if you've purchased any digital product online, you've probably been exposed to this, which is now that you check out with, those that 17 and that $27 product, then there's going to be kind of before you go, or a wait a minute page. Maybe you're going to be interested in this. Now, some of you are probably smiling because you're thinking, oh, I've absolutely seen that, And so this next product is typically going to be an higher end product, but still relatively related to whatever it is. So maybe that next product is going to be a $47 product or a $97 product. And essentially what that's going to do is go to the next level, meaning that you've helped them by coming up with this meal plan. You've provided this planner, which is going to help them. Now, what's the next step that might be the next logical thing? Well, maybe that's going to be a workout plan combined with some motivational videos from you or whatever. I'm just picking this stuff off the top of my head. But whatever it is, it's deemed to be highly valuable. And again, something that they can see that they're interested in. It's kind of like the next problem they're going to have, because we all know that you can eat really well and that will help you. But if you're trying to lose weight, adding on an exercise component is definitely going to help. So just think in terms of what could this product suite be? Your original product or front end, your order bump, and then your upsell product. Now that's what I want you to focus on for what you're going to be creating for fourth quarter. Okay, and what you're going to be selling. Now, what if you're saying to yourself, Rhonda, that's a lot for me to create? It really isn't. You just have to think in terms of, as I said, what that first problem is they're going to have, which you've already figured out from your investigative work. The second thing is just a companion product. And then the one that's probably going to take you the most time is your upsell. If it's too much for you, leave the upsell product off. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I don't want you to get overwhelmed. You can always add the upsell product on at a later time. Okay. Now that was a lot of information, and we're going to be going through this in detail. But if you have any questions, drop that into the comments, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have on this. Now, this is another reason, because we are focusing in my example on creating 3 different products. That's another reason why we're starting early. Okay. So now let's go ahead and let's talk through these different steps. Now I'm going to give you, the 5 steps. Now we talked about creating a product. Now, for some of you, you may have a product that you've already started on. You may have something that you've already created, and maybe now there's something you can add to it, or maybe it's ready to launch. I want you to think about whether or not that is the product that you want to launch. If it isn't, but you want to do something along those lines or to kind of stay within that realm, think about how you might be able to make it better. Think about maybe there's some new things that have been added. Maybe there's some new software. Maybe there's some new, maybe Chat GPT can be incorporated into it, or some type of AI can be incorporated into it. Maybe there's, whatever. Think about what you're going to do. But what I want you to do is to make sure that before the month of September ends, you have this entire product suite outlined, okay? And hopefully your front end product is completed. All right. Now, the other thing is I want you to think about how you can always increase your average order value. Now, the average order value is going to be increased if you add in an order bump. Naturally, that's going to happen. But there's one other thing I want you to think about that can definitely help you to increase your overall value. Now, this may not be happening at the time that the order is being completed, but it can happen at some point in the future. And what that is adding on an affiliate product. What affiliate products can you make reference to in your front end product, or perhaps even in your order bump? What types of things would be helpful for them? So for example, going back to the meal plan, maybe there's a particular appliance that you use. For example, let's go with a air fryer. Maybe an air fryer would be something that you can make a number of these meals that we talked about in the meal plan, maybe that would be a way for you to actually add on to it. And you could even say, I'm giving you a number of not only the meals, but I'm going to give you some recipes that I actually use and prepare in my favorite air fryer. And then you can make reference to that. So just understand that that would be a way to do it. Another thing would be, if you have something like some of you may have already started a membership, or perhaps you're thinking about a membership. Well, the membership itself wouldn't necessarily be an affiliate product, but it would be another product that you could add on at some point. But right now, I just really want you to focus on the affiliate products that you might have or might be able to refer to them. You also, if they're going to be purchasing the upsell product, remember there might be a number of different things that you could add on, because remember we talked about that being maybe an exercise program or something. Well, then you could refer to a number of different pieces of exercise equipment or exercise bands or dumbbells or whatever else might be the case. All right, now the other thing that I want you to do is to think about other simple products that you could create for this front end. So let me give you a few other things that you could create for this front end lower cost product, the one that, like I said, people don't want to say no to because it's so good. That could be things like templates. Okay. It could be things like resources, trackers. So, like a spreadsheet, it could be Trello boards, it could be Notion templates. All of these can be sold as a product that you could actually sell to your audience. It just needs to be valuable. It just needs to solve a problem. And you want it customized enough that somebody's not getting something that they could, quite honestly, just go to Chat GPT and have it create something like that. It needs to have something that's going to make it unique, something that's going to, put yourself into it, something that, something that again is going to be beneficial to them and conveys the way you teach, the way you share information, that's going to help them get to their solution and so forth. All right. So um, let's see. Kenya said, I'm just tuning in. Matt, I've missed the beginning. Front end. Front end is that smaller product that you're going to create. And when I say smaller, I mean it's going to be something that is lower cost but highly valuable. So let me give you an example. Some of you may have seen these, $17 products, or maybe even seen a $7 product. Now, what I do not want you to create for this front end is something that, quite honestly, people could download as a lead magnet from someone else. I almost want this front end product, or I do want this front end product that you create to be so valuable that people are like, I cannot believe he or she is only charging $7 for this. I can't believe they're only charging $17. This is so valuable that, it's like your loss leader product. Okay. So that front end is designed to be an easy yes to your customer. It's going to fix a problem that they know they've been struggling with. It's going to help them experience a transformation. So here they are over on the island where they're stuck. And now here they are over on the island of paradise because they've solved their problem. So that front end product is simply the product that's going to get the easy yes, get them to say, here's my credit card, that fixes my problem, take my money, that type of thing. So Kenya, does that help answer your question? I'm going to take some water, drink some water while I'm doing this. And any other questions you all may have, drop those in as well. Okay. So this month, again, you're thinking about what items you're going to potentially create. So we're easing into this thing. We still have, 2 weeks left in the month of August. And again, most of our work is going to be done on this in September, but you're jotting it down. You're coming up with some things. So, all right, great. Okay, so now Okay, great. I'm glad that that worked out for you. Okay, so now the next thing I want you to do, once you have brainstormed these ideas, now what I want you to do is step number two. The first thing was to come up with examples. Step number two is going to be outline the value. This is important because you have to show people why this product is for them. Once you come up with it, they know they've got a problem, okay? But you've got to create the features. Remember, that's the thing that's going to be focused, that we're going to be focusing on. You can talk about the features, but what is it that people are going to get from this? How is it going to help them solve their problem? And so that's what you're going to be outlining when you start thinking about the product itself that you're going to be creating. So, what transformation are they going to experience? So you could say, let's go back to the example of the meal plan and someone that wants to lose weight. You could say, I know you've been struggling with weight loss, but what if I could show you a plan that I personally used to lose, 8 pounds in less than 30 days without being hungry? Okay. So I'm telling them that the transformation is they're going to lose weight, they're not going to be hungry, and that you're going to lay the entire plan out for them so they don't have to think, complete with a grocery shopping list. You got to make this thing as simple as possible. The more valuable you can make it, the more they're easing that credit card out of the wallet and getting ready to enter it into your sales page, if you will. Okay. You also want to make sure that if you have any transformation pictures, so let's say right now you really don't even have any people that have experienced this transformation from your audience. Okay, you're the only one at this point. Okay, does that mean it stops you? No, it doesn't. So the way you're going to work through that is you're going to have before and after pictures. So when you create that sales page, you can have that before picture and you have that after picture, and you're showing them what's happening. You can also, if it's something like an organizational type spreadsheet or Notion or whatever, you can say, I went from chaos to organized in, 2 weeks or whatever the time frame is. So you've got to explain to people what they're going to get. And I would say, if you can, come up with, 3 to 5 of those items, 3 to 5 things that they can expect to get from that. But you have to very clearly be able to explain to them what the actual transformation is going to be. And then some of those other small wins are going to be listed out as well. Okay. The next thing is making sure that when you explain it, you are very crystal clear about what they're going to get from this product. So again, in your outline, remember, you haven't created the product yet. You're just simply outlining. This is our September type work that we're going to be doing. And what I want you to do is to find somebody in your audience, and I want you to share with them the transformation statement. And I want you to then ask them, what does this mean to you? Do you understand what this is going to do, or what do you feel it's going to do? And so that means you have to not use a lot of jargon. Don't use any industry jargon, because, that may not be something that someone new to your audience really understands. Keep it really simple. Another thing is this, and this is something that I see a lot of people miss. When you create your verbiage, if you will, for your page, what I want you to do is and I'll find the link for you, but you can run it through Chat GPT or Gemini or one of those. And I want you to take your transformation statement and any of the other verbiage you're going to be using. I want you to run it through Chat GPT, and I want you to ask it, what reading level is this at? Now, let me explain to you why. The average person reads at a 6th grade level. So if you've got a lot of, fancy words, stuff that people have to stop and look up to understand, you're going to lose them. The other thing is, you want to be able to take whatever the transformation is going to be and the other components of it, and it needs to be able to be put into a bullet point format. because when people read, if you give them a whole paragraph of stuff, you know what they're going to do? They're going to click off. I don't care how good your offer is, because nobody wants to do a lot of reading. Because of, I'll say, TikTok and other short form videos, people don't spend a lot of time reading these days. So bullet points are going to help you, because now people can say, number one, it's going to give me a meal plan that I can incorporate over 30 days. Number two, it's going to give me a grocery list. I get that. Number three, it's going to tell me exactly what types of meals I can prepare, or whatever else goes into this. So keep it very simple, easy to understand, easy to read, and easy to really say, I get what this product is doing. It's going to solve the problem I'm having. I want to buy it. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? Drop in any comments if you need me to clarify any of that. So that's outlining the value, which was step number two. All right. Now, step number three, we've talked a little bit about the order bump and also the upsell. I want you to now think about maybe 2 to 3 different order bumps that you could come up with. You're not going to use them all. You're just going to have some options so that you can figure out which one you want to create, which one is going to be the most logical next step for your audience based upon the original product, your front end product that you're creating. What would be the next easy yes, if you will? So, something that, like I was saying, if you give them a meal plan as your front end product, then a planner could be a great order bump, simply because it's going to say, day one, this is what you eat. Day two, this is, what you do. Day three, and so forth. So people could look at that and say, yeah, that's absolutely valuable to me, because I don't even have to think about it. I know I have all these different, this meal plan and meal prep stuff in this original product, but let me make that easy by having something I can just simply, add to my phone or put into a Google Doc, or whatever, because you want to make things as easy for people to use as possible. Okay. All right. Now, the next thing of examples of order bumps. Now, we talked about the planner, but also in addition to that, another thing that you could create that would be even easier than a planner would be like a checklist, just a simple checklist of, if they're going to be packing their lunch, let's say, or if they're going to be going to the grocery store, what are some must have items that they should have stocked in their refrigerator as part of your overall meal plan that you've created. So maybe the checklist is going to include, fruits and vegetables, and maybe it's going to include, some of the fruits and vegetables that, you recommend that they pick up, because those are going to be used in the meal plan that you've actually created. Other things that you could do would be, if you're not doing something else and you're doing something that's more business like, it could be a mini template pack. So let's say that your audience is going to be people that are new to digital marketing and they're starting to create content, but they don't necessarily know what to. Maybe you have a template pack that you've created, for example, in Canva or something like that. It could also be something along the lines of, let's say you're a crocheter and you have some simple, I'm not a crocheter, I'm not a knitter. Okay. But maybe you have some simple patterns that you've created. That could be something else that you could offer as an upsell, or not an upsell, your order bump. Okay. It could be a master class that you've recorded. That could be a very helpful product that you could offer as an order bump, taking them through something. So, for example, let's go back to that meal planning. Maybe the order bump is you preparing 3 of the meals using the air fryer that I talked about. So there's all sorts of things that you can do. You just have to get creative. Another thing that I want you to do is to go to Facebook or to Instagram. And there's a reason why I want you to go specifically to either of these. One or both. You're going to start to see a lot of different ads that are being created, and they're created for different products. I want you to look at some of the things that people are offering as order bumps, not for you to copy them, but for you to get inspiration on things that can be offered. There are just so many different things that you can offer in terms of an order bump. I mean, checklists as I mentioned. I don't know. I've got a whole list of that. I'll have to create that and put it in. But just all sorts of things that you can think about that would be helpful and that would align with your front end product. All right. Now let's talk about why having an order bump I think is non-negotiable. Okay. Now, let's say your front end product is $17. All right. Now, if there's something that is the next logical step, why wouldn't you offer it? So, if it's the next logical step and it's an order bump, you could take your average cart value, which is the average amount that you're collecting per order, let's say it that way, and increase it simply by offering something that people would absolutely want to have. So instead of having an average cart value of $17, you could very easily get that average cart value up to, let's say $20, or it would be more than that, more like $27, because not everyone that takes a look at your order is going, or your offer is going to purchase that order bump. So when I say average, it's going to be somewhere between the 17 and the 27 or whatever. And understand that your front end product, it doesn't have to be a $7 offer or a $17 offer. There are lots of $27 front end offers. You're just going to have to look at it and figure out what transformation it offers, what value it's going to give to people. It just, again, has to be so valuable that people who are interested in that are unwilling to say no. Most of them are like, I've got to have this type of thing. Okay. So focus on what you can do to increase your average cart value. Because as I mentioned, while people have the credit card out, you want them to just click a button, add that order bump, and now that suddenly increases the amount that you're going to be earning. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. All right. So next thing, let's talk upsell offer. Your upsell offer is typically going to be a more expensive item. So if we talked order bump being, 17 and the upsell being 27, typically the front end product being 17 and the order bump being, let's say, 27, typically your upsell is going to be a higher end product. It's going to be, the 47, the 97, the, 197, the 297. I will say though, starting someone at a $17 offer and then trying to upsell them into a 197 or a 297, that's quite a big jump. So you're going to have to really start to think in terms of, can I take it up to maybe that upsell is going to be $47, or maybe it's going to be 97. You're really going to have to look at, again, what the transformation is, what you're offering in that upsell, what how valuable it's going to be deemed to your audience. Because remember, this is typically like the next problem they're going to have. It's not the same problem as you solved in that front end product. It's the next problem they're likely to have. So people who are genuinely interested, they are going to be willing to pay more money. They already understand that it's a bigger product. It has more value to it in terms of what you're offering. The transformation is bigger and so forth. So they can see that it's a higher end product. And oftentimes people are going to be willing to pay for it. Now, there's a couple of things that I want you to think about with fourth quarter, and I always have to address this with people. Number one, one thing I learned a long time ago is you don't sell out of your own pocket. Here's what I mean by that. Sometimes people think, well, if I was buying a $17 product and then I upgraded and got the order bump of 27, I don't know if I'd have another $97. We're not selling to you. We're selling to other people. And other people, that $97 may be absolutely nothing to them. It might be a easy sell, a easy yes, a easy whatever. It again, you just have to put the value into it. The second thing is this: during the time of the year that we're going to be selling this, Black Friday and so forth, people are in the buying mode. And so the credit card's out. It's a matter of whether they're buying from you or somebody else that is going to solve the problem. So I don't want you to start to put limits on yourself. Those are your limiting beliefs, and I'll talk about that later toward the end of this actual training that we're doing here. But we're not going to put the limiting beliefs in our head as we're trying to create a product. You are thinking about a product that's going to be valuable to people, and if people find it valuable enough, they will buy it. So just kind of, keep that in mind. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is to focus in on what your promotional strategy is going to be, because you can have the greatest front end product, the greatest order bump, and the greatest upsell. But if you don't have any traffic going to it, it's not going to matter. So there are two ways that you're going to be able to get traffic, and I'm going to focus on one. One is to run ads. Now, I'm not going to talk much about that because that's a whole other animal that you have to learn. I'm going to focus more so on organic traffic you yourself create without spending any money. And what I mean by traffic is that's the number of eyes that are going to end up looking at your offer. Okay, so you're going to have a lot of people going to your sales page or your offer page in order to get people to purchase. So you have to think about how you're going to create traffic to that. Now, there are a few ways that you can actually do that. One of the ways that you can create traffic is going to be great content where you are talking about something. Let's say you do a video, or you could even do a post. It doesn't really matter. But the point is, you have to use a strategy that's going to make people aware of what it is that you're offering. So I like to use what I call the PAUSE formula, which is the problem. You state the problem. The second thing is you're going to agitate it a little bit. And then the third thing is you're going to provide a solution. So the problem, let's go back to the meal planner, is going to be, I know that you're probably going into this season, and you may not be one of those people that wants to wait until January to start losing the weight, and those pounds have been bothering you. And the reality is, if you don't do anything about it, you're going to not only have those pounds, but you're likely to pick up some additional pounds over this time. That's the agitation. So I stated the problem, I agitated it. Now I'm going to say, but you don't have to do that. One of the things that I was successfully able to do was to lose 8 pounds during this time of the year last year. And I followed a simple solution or simple way of going about it. I didn't starve myself, and I was able to lose 8 pounds in 30 days during the holiday season. Now that's got people's attention because you've now talked about something you were personally able to do. And you can say, what I've done is I've put all of that together where I've laid it out in a step-by-step fashion. And if you're interested in it, I'm going to drop the link below. And by all means, check it out. That's a very soft sell, but you've stated the problem, you've agitated it, and now you've offered a solution. That's one way that you can do it. Now, remember, anytime you are offering up, something that you're promoting something, you can't just continuously promote it because you're going to turn people off. So you have to weave into that other valuable information. So how could you weave other valuable information into it but stay on topic? You could provide, the 5 fruits and vegetables that I kept in my refrigerator that helped me lose weight. I don't know. I'm just making this stuff up off of the top of my head. So that could be a post that you have. Remember, you have to provide value. If you're doing 10 posts, let's say, 8 of those need to be valuable information. 2 of them can be direct promotions. That way, people will not feel like you're turning them off by constantly promoting. Okay? Now, another thing that you can do So remember, we talked about valuable content. Another thing you can do is to create content that is going to be search engine optimized. So, that's essentially something that is going to be picked up by the search engines, or in the search engines in this case are going to be Google, YouTube, and now, believe it or not, I don't necessarily call it a search engine, but ChatGPT. So whether you know this or not, it's happening. ChatGPT is now recommending content that is being created by individuals. So and I know that because I received my YouTube analytics recently, and one of the things it talked about was a number of, or the four different ways that external content or people are finding me, and it's through one of the ways was through ChatGPT. Who knew? So that would be another way of you getting recognized is by having search engine optimized content. Another thing is going to be creating evergreen content. That's another way for you to actually have people find you, where you start creating a series of things. You could even put them into a playlist. You can put them into something that's going to allow people to find out about it. And now that's another way people are actually locating you. Another thing you can do is to create reels, simple, 30 to 60-second videos where, you're dropping a tip or providing some information. And so what this is doing is bringing more people into your world who are now finding out about you, understanding that you're an authority in this particular area. And so now you have a chance when you do offer those pitches for them to now be introduced to that. So just kind of keep that in mind. And again, of course, you can always, as I said, I'm not going to go into that, but you could always use ads as well. That would be another way for you to get people connected and finding out about you and, learning about the products that you have. All right. So other promotional strategies are going to be things like pre launches. So, for example, you could have a picture of your desk or something along those lines, and you could say, working on something that's going to be really valuable to my audience. So, you're just teasing them, you're not actually throwing it out there. And these are things that you could start doing in September. Because I didn't state this, but I'm going to state it now. I really want you to have your products all ready to go by the first week of November. So, whatever the suite is, you got to have it ready. So, these teasers can start as early as September. Keep putting them out there. That's another way to do it. You can do countdowns, like a countdown that you show. That would be another way. Really excited to share with you, something. And here's the countdown showing that it's going to happen in 2 days and then 1 day and so forth. And as we talked before, you could do behind the scenes type content where you're showing things on your desk, or, if you're doing that meal prep thing, then, or putting together the planner, that would be another thing that you could show. Now, if you want to do launch dates, you can do that. But for this, what we're going to be doing is focusing primarily on that time frame between Black Friday and Cyber Monday, simply because we know. So I'm not going to focus much on launch dates, but you could do that. You could actually launch the product, let's say on the Monday before Black Friday, and let it run through, the Wednesday after or something if you want to do that. So decide how you want to go about it. And then another thing that you could do, which you're going to see a lot of during Black Friday, is you're going to see discounts. So let's say, for example, that product that you normally would offer for your front end product, let's say it's going to be $27 normally. Well, you could offer it during Black Friday for $17. But here's the thing, whenever you offer a limited time discount, you have to stop it when you say it's going to stop, because otherwise you don't have any credibility with your audience. And what I mean by credibility is a lot of them are going to feel like, well, she said it was going to stop on, Cyber Monday, but here it is, it's still out there, the Thursday after Cyber Monday. So I can buy it whenever I want. No, people have to know when you say a product is going to be offered until a certain time, you go in and turn it off and change that price back to $27 if that's what you're going to be offering it at. Now, the other thing is this, and I'll get into this even more as we go through it. But another thing I want you to do is during this time, as I mentioned, you're going to be building your audience. And hopefully, you understand that you have to move your audience off of social media or whatever platform they're on. And the goal is to get them onto your email list. The reason why I want you to get them onto your email list is because you're going to that warm audience, because they're on your email list and hopefully you're communicating with them once a week or maybe more often than that. I only communicate with my audience once a week. Let them in on things. It's kind of like they're the inner circle. They're going to get the information about things you're offering before you're going to allow it to made public, if you will. So they will definitely feel like, they've been let in on something. You could even say to them, um, if because before I announce this to the public, I'm going to allow my audience to buy it at this particular price. Okay. So that could be it. Let's say you're doing a master class and you only have 100 seats available in your master class. You could say, for my audience, for the first 10 people, I'm going to offer this at $17. And once those 17 or first 10 people come in, then shut it down. Okay? So you can do a lot of different things, but making sure that you are growing your audience and then moving your audience onto your email list is going to be critical because your email list is warm. And because you're communicating with them, they know you better. You've been nurturing them. So they're more likely to purchase from you than your cold audience who is still getting to know you. Okay? All right. Now let's get into beyond Cyber Monday, if you will. Okay? And this is step number 5. So let me go back and just give you the steps again. So step number 1 was decide on the offer. Step number 2 was to outline it. Step number 3 was to add your order bump and your upsell. Step number 4 is planning your promotional strategy. Step number 5 is thinking beyond November. Okay. Now, what do I mean by thinking beyond November? One of the things that happens inevitably is in the beginning of the year, January and so forth, of course, people make New Year's resolutions. Most people's New Year's resolutions are going to include lose weight, get in better shape, make more money. Okay. So when I say think beyond November, I also want you to think about perhaps products that you might have that are going to help people meet one of those categories of losing weight, making more money, or getting in better shape. Okay. Or getting their financial house in order, whatever it is, better mindset, whatever. So those are products that you can certainly offer beyond November. The reason why I would even say think about these types of products being offered in early December is people are starting to get into that mindset of, well, this year's almost over. I'll wait until next year, but come next year, I'm going full steam ahead at whatever their goal is. Okay. So this is where things like, planners do really well. Planning a successful year, getting out of debt. So if you're in that space, this would be a great time for you to start launching other products. Now, here's something else that I want you to think about, launching products that are going to help people for the next year, okay? Vision boards. So, teaching people how to do a successful vision board. There's just so many different things that you can do. But the other thing I wanted to caution you about that I hear a lot of people say is people are not spending money on products during this time of the year, meaning December, because they're buying Christmas gifts and they're spending money on X, Y, and Z. Again, do not sell out of your own pocket. I want you to understand there are people that, quite frankly, spending two, three, $400 on something is not a big deal. It just isn't. It doesn't matter that it's happening during December because they have that money readily available or they have it available on a credit card or whatever the case is. All I'm saying is, I don't want your limiting beliefs to stop you from creating a product that could be extremely valuable to someone else. Someone that is looking to, let's say, excuse me, someone that is looking to increase their overall health for the upcoming year, they're probably not going to put much of a price on it. Now, of course, there's always going to be some limit that people are going to say, no, I absolutely can't do that. But I do want you to understand that there are a lot of people that are still going to be shopping beyond Cyber Monday that are looking for products and services that are going to allow them to be more successful in the upcoming year. So that could be something else that you could look at creating as well. All right. So things that do really well during that time frame, as I mentioned, were business planning tools, financial planning tools, getting out of debt type of things. It could even be, for example, if someone is starting to think about planning for retirement, maybe they're not really in debt, but they're starting to think about what they need to start putting away for that. Another thing is going to be personal development or personal growth type actions, okay, activities. So, for example, trackers, habit trackers, those types of things are going to do well. As I mentioned, vision boards and teaching people how to create one, teaching people how to, only use debit cards. I mean, I don't know. I'm coming up with all kind of stuff, but I want you to think in terms of what else can you offer. Now, if that type of thing does not work for what it is that you do. So let's say, for example, you're into crocheting. Well, that's probably not going to translate well for December simply because that's something people can do at any time. So then maybe your emphasis is mostly um, on the November Black Friday through Cyber Monday. But if your items are more along the personal growth and so forth, then maybe more of your information is going to be offered in December. It still does not mean that you cannot offer it during the Black Friday through Cyber Monday. You absolutely can. So just understand that if you're in that space, your opportunity doesn't really shut down come December. I mean, I feel like with most products, they can be sold almost at any time of the year, but there are certain types of things that are going to be more, people are going to be more into them at certain times of the year. Okay. And then another thing would be courses. If somebody is interested in learning something and they're saying, you know what, I want to have a course that's going to allow me to do X, Y, and Z, but I'll buy it now, but I'm not going to really dig into it until the first of the year. So just, those are things that you can also incorporate as well. You have to remember that a lot of people are going to be motivated by a new year to be more successful, to have a better version of themselves and so forth. So if you're in that space, you want to provide options that are going to help them do exactly what it is that they want to do. Okay. All right. So now I want to talk about why doing things now is important. As I mentioned, or when we started this, I mentioned that for a lot of people, they wait until November 1st to start thinking about what their offer is going to be for Black Friday, and then they're absolutely stressed out. Or they get to the point where they can't create an offer because they haven't allowed themselves enough time. And so now it becomes, well, I'll just do something next year. I just don't have enough time. If you start brainstorming now and creating in September with the intent of having it done by the first week of November at the latest, maybe the end of October, you won't be in that space because your offer will already be done, ready to go, and so forth. And then you're just creating the content, you're promoting it, you're putting things out there, you're doing the sneak peeks, you're doing the behind the scenes, and so forth. So you're ready to go when it's time to go. Okay. Now, another thing is to, for any of your promotional content, do that in a batch. Create it in a batch. Get it all done at one point so that it's already out of the way. And remember, anytime you batch content, or batch items, you tend to get into a flow state, which allows you to do things much faster. The ideas are flowing creatively and so forth. All right. And then the most important thing, as I mentioned, keep your offer clear, simple, and, easy to understand, because if it's easy to understand, it can be an easy yes for most people. All right. Now, any questions or comments? Let me know if, in fact, you are learning anything from this, if this information has been helpful, or, any of those things. I just want to make sure that I have not glossed over something that you'd like to learn, or haven't shared something that you definitely are interested in learning more about. So be very comfortable dropping your comments in there. All right. Now, the next thing is, as I mentioned, be your warm audience. One of the ways that you can increase your overall sales is by growing your email list. So, the more people you can get onto your email list, the bigger the audience of people you're going to be able to sell your items to. Now, it doesn't mean you can't sell to a cold audience, but it definitely is easier to sell to that warm list, if you will. So don't neglect growing your email list, which means if you haven't yet created a lead magnet, you need to create a lead magnet now so you can start growing your email list and then connect with them on a weekly basis. I connect with my audience every Tuesday morning. My email message goes out to them at 6:05 a.m. I always like to tell people that, because what happens is it's one of the first things that a lot of people are going to see on a Tuesday morning. Now, does that mean yours has to go out on Tuesday? No, it can go out any day of the week that's going to work for you, and any time of the day that you find works for you as well. Another thing is continuing to engage with your audience. So as you are dropping or content, and people are asking you questions or they're commenting, I want you to reply to them. It is important for you to work on growing this audience, and then, having this connection with them, because now that helps to build that know, like, and trust factor. The other thing I want you to do is to, if you're comfortable, let people into your world. You don't have to disclose everything, but if you have a pet and you want to share your pet with people by taking pictures or talking about them in your email messages, by all means do that, because the more people can get to know you, that helps them decide whether or not they like you and whether or not they can trust you. So, these are things that are going to help you overall grow the audience, so you have somebody that you can sell your products to later on. And then, as I mentioned, don't forget, you've got to offer that lead magnet so you can convert people from off of the social media platform that they found you on over to your email list. Remember, you do not own the social media platform. So if they decide to shut you down, you lose connection with your audience. If you have an email list, you still have a way to connect with them. And then I want you to remember to treat your email list, your subscribers, like the close circle, the people that you share information with before you share it publicly. And when I say share information, that's where you're announcing new products to them. That's where you're sharing with them, maybe a masterclass that you're only offering to your email subscribers. So you want people to feel like there is an advantage to them being on your email list. Maybe that's the group of people that gets a free gift, which might be a checklist that you're offering. And nobody else is getting that because they're not part of the inner circle. Okay. All right. Now, let's see here. Okay, so just to kind of wrap things up before I give you a little bit of mindset training here is, um, I want you to really start thinking about that stuff now, brainstorming right now. You've got 2 weeks to get that done. September is when you're going to start creating the offer. October is when we're going to work on wrapping it up. And remember, the offer is going to be the front end, the order bump and the upsell. Okay, because I want you to be able to earn as much money as possible from people who want to learn from you. Okay. And then the next thing is you can also use something else that maybe this is too much for you. And so I also want you to think, if this is too much in terms of being able to create a product suite, if you will, then there is another way that you can still capitalize on this fourth quarter, and that's through affiliate marketing. Affiliate marketing solely. Now, I'm going to cover more of that next week because there are things you can be doing right now to build an audience and simply earn income by recommending affiliate products. There are lots of affiliate products out there that you can recommend to your audience, but you need to grow the audience and then you need to get approved before you actually start recommending these, obviously. So that can be another way for you to earn income during this fourth quarter. The whole point of this is teaching you how to have a successful fourth quarter, not just successful from the standpoint of growing your audience, but for you to actually earn income. Because it doesn't make sense for us to simply grow an audience without having the ability to earn income. We're business owners, which means the goal of a business is to earn a profit. Okay, so and sometimes when I'm talking to new creators, new business owners, new solopreneurs, it's almost like they're uncomfortable talking about earning money. No, that's what business is all about. We didn't get into this business simply to share information. If we did that, it would really just kind of be a hobby. So just understand, you're going to pick one of the two paths. Either you're going to create a product suite or you're going to focus on affiliate marketing. But at the end of the day, the point is for us to be able to earn income. Now, some of you might be further along, which means you can do both. Maybe you've already been growing your audience. Maybe you already have a product that you can offer. And so now you can pursue both avenues of a product that you're offering and affiliate marketing. But if you're new, you really need to pick one. It's too much for you to try to do both at the same time. Okay. All right. Any questions before I finish up this mindset training? Because I do want to give you a little bit of that and drop that in if in fact you have it. Also, I always like to tell people, if in fact this has been helpful to you, by all means, give the live stream a thumbs up. That way, YouTube will push it out to more people, because my goal is for as many people as possible to learn this information so that they can implement it and start, making it work for them. Also, I always say, if you have a business bestie, share it with them, because they may not have heard or learned the information you just had an opportunity to learn. All right. All right. So before we wrap up, I always like to end these live streams with a little bit of mindset training. And so one of the first thing that I want you to do is to think in terms of this. I don't want you to compare yourself to other people, because at this time of the year, it's very easy, as you start seeing those offers show up in your feed, whether it's going to be your Facebook feed or your Instagram feed or your TikTok, whatever. It's very easy to say, well, I can't do that, or I haven't been able to create that. No, we're not doing that. Your goal is to focus on what you know you can accomplish. Figure out what people are struggling with, figure out what you can help them solve, and create a product around it. It doesn't have to be a course. As a matter of fact, if you're brand new, again, I'm going to tell you, I wouldn't encourage you to do a course. I'd probably encourage you to do something more like a product that's PDFs and so forth, spreadsheets, Trello boards, Notion templates, something along that you can create templates that are done in Canva, easy kind of stuff that you can actually create. Or perhaps even a master class or a workshop, if you will, where you can invite people to something, they pay you a certain amount of money, and then you teach for an hour. That's the type of thing I would do. So we're not comparing ourselves to other people. You're going to do what you're able to do. The other thing is, you've probably heard the old saying of do what you can with what you have where you are. Okay? Use your resources, use what you have available to you and make it happen. This is not the time for you to go into any debt trying to buy stuff that you might need to create it. No. What do you have right now? What knowledge can you monetize? What knowledge can you get into a PDF format that will allow you to actually put a price tag on it and sell it? That's the kind of thing I want you to focus on. And then the other thing is starting early. I don't want you to wait until the last minute to do this, because if you wait until the last minute, you're going to experience overwhelm, and you're more likely to not end up creating any type of a product that could be sold to people. And then the last thing is give yourself some grace. Okay, maybe your offer for 2025 is not going to be nearly as good as what you'll be able to offer in 2026. Why? Because you're just getting started. Okay, so you have to give yourself some grace. You have to say, I'm going to start. It's better than doing nothing. It's better than, talking myself out of it. But I'm going to put something out there. I don't care if it's a $7, 20-page PDF, whatever it happens to be. I'm going to do something that's going to allow me to earn some income. Okay. All right. So anything else, if, like I said, if you've learned anything from this, by all means, give it a thumbs up and share it out to people. But I appreciate you being here. Next week, I'm going to talk a little bit more about incorporating affiliate marketing and getting ready for that for the fourth quarter. But if there's any questions that you have, you can always feel free to reach out to me. Probably easiest either to comment under this video, or you can also catch me through Facebook DMs or Instagram DMs. That's another way, since YouTube doesn't have anything like that. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. I appreciate you being on with me live, or if you watch the replay, thank you for watching as well. And hopefully you will go ahead, start implementing this information, and prepare for a very awesome and successful and profitable fourth quarter. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.